Welcome to Acton in Focus. This is our President's Day special, and my special guest is the president of ActonTV, Mike Gowing. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vivian. It's nice to be here.
Well, it's not often that, I get to host the president of our lovely organization, so it's an honor to have you on today. And let's dive right in. President's Day. What does that mean to you?
Okay, well, the original President's Day was 1885, and I'm not old enough to remember that one, but I am old enough to remember when they codified it in 1971, because that was the year I went into the Marines, and they made it a Monday holiday, and with a lot of pushback from people who thought holidays should fall on the exact dates that they were. And it was to celebrate Washington's birthday. Later on, when it became President's Day, it was essentially to celebrate Washington and Lincoln, but some people interpret it as President's Day in general, which is all presidents. So,
right. I'll get back to that later, but you've mentioned something. You were in the Marines. As a Marine, what did this day mean to you, and what was it like celebrating President's Day?
Not so much. President's Day wasn't so much, although the president is every military person's commander-in-chief, meaning they're in charge. And typically, presidents, not since Eisenhower, have not been military people. Bush had served Bush Sr. had served in the military. Kennedy had served in the military, but Eisenhower was a general, so he was a leader before he became president. And so it was more that you had to learn who was in your chain of command or who was at the top of your chain of command. So.
Right. Well, and then back to President's Day, it evolved over the years. And what has been your observation as it has evolved from a celebration of a birthday to what it is today, recognizing presidents?
Well, unfortunately, I think today it's become just a day off. And the start of the February vacation for the kids. But President's Day was, again, originally meant to honor presidents that had had significant impact on our country. Washington, obviously, was the first president. Lincoln brought our country back together again after the Civil War. So it's not, I think most people think of it in those terms. Not every president. Some presidents have been good presidents, some not so good. So it's hard to kind of give them a day.
Well, you went there, so I'm just going to ask this question. It might be a little subjective, but from your experience and observation, who have been some of the most influential presidents over the years?
That's a good question. I guess I would say in the current day, I'll talk about presidents that I have known.
Yes.
Which I think is 10 during my lifetime. And Eisenhower was a significant president in that he put in the roads that we, like 95 and 495, that was all because of his efforts. He wanted to make it so that you could drive the United States. So we used to have a really poor network of roads, and now we have a really terrific network of roads, and that was thanks to him. But
in what ways? In what ways did you do that?
Well, just this new transportation bill that was just signed in by President Biden was supposed to be that same kind of event, to restore bridges, to restore the road beds, to make it so that we could honor what he did 70 years ago. So it's something that I think he made a significant impact. Some presidents were famous, some were infamous. LBJ, Black History Month, he was the president who signed civil rights into law and did a lot to advocate for people of color. Even though he was a Southern Democrat, he was a Texas Democrat, and ended up being president because, of course, President Kennedy was assassinated, and he was his vice president. So, but that was significant. Nixon was more infamous than famous because of the Watergate scandal. Oh, yeah. And the war in Southeast Asia, which had kind of spilled out of Vietnam into Laos and places like that. And Reagan made some tremendous improvements to the American spirit. After losing the Vietnam War, which we did, it was the first war the country had lost. Oh. And so it was significant, and it was very, very difficult. The country was very, very depressed as a whole, all the way through Jimmy Carter, and the final tack in that was the Iran crisis, where the embassy was taken for 444 days, and all of those people were held hostage. When Reagan came in, he brought a new pride back to the United States.
How did he do that?
He did it essentially by reminding people that this is a great country. This is a seminal country. This is something that this country has established democracy in a very different way than most, in that we're a fragile democracy because we allow everyone to speak. And that isn't always, if you look around at democracies around the world, that isn't always the case. And so I think that he kind of rebuffed the image of America. And also, he came up with a strategy to end the Cold War, right. Which was, I had lived my entire life learning about what to do in the event of a nuclear war, where you had to learn as a child how to hide under a desk in the event that there was a nuclear explosion.
Oh my goodness, that's very scary.
They called it duck and cover, and many of the people who are watching will remember duck and cover drills. So
we had our own duck and cover in Uganda because when I was young, we had a military coup that brought in the current president. Oh. And I remember being told, walking from school when at the time they were the rebels, closer to where I lived, and we had to rush home, and everyone was told to duck. And, when we had the bullets, we already knew what to do. Yeah. So.
Well, that was revolution. That was a little different. When we were talking about nuclear Armageddon, essentially, if a nuclear war started, it was going to end the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a little different, but no less deadly to the people who were on the receiving end.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, after Reagan, I don't think until we got to Obama did we see any real significant things that came as a result of the president. I think George W. Bush, responded to the 9/11 crisis very well, but I think the rest of his presidency was kind of wasted, and it's unfortunate. Obama, I think, did as much as he could. His health care program was obviously his signature accomplishment. The latest presidents have not really stepped up. They're more concerned about politics than the American people, and I think that's sad.
So what other events over the years have defined presidencies, and how have the different presidencies evolved over the years? Administrations.
I have to give you an anecdote from my childhood.
Okay.
So I was probably 8 years old and 7 years old, and I was watching Big Brother Bob Emery, which was a television show for children on Saturday morning. And what we would do is every Saturday morning, you would stand in front of the television and you would put your hand over your heart and you would say the Pledge of Allegiance to the president, and not to the flag, to the president, which was inappropriate, but we were kids and didn't care. And it was Eisenhower that was up there. And I remember that I was outraged as a child when they took Eisenhower's picture down and put up Kennedy's. They took away my president because I didn't understand term limits and stuff. So
that is so much fun. I can imagine 6-7-year-old or so just being confused that, hey, where is my president? Why is there a different person? So what was your reaction after, a year into the new president?
Well, I started asking more questions.
Okay.
And my mother was involved in politics, in as much as we were a Republican family, which I grew up in Boston. In Boston was a minority, and she worked as a ward committee woman at the polling place. So in other words, she ran a polling place in Boston. And she was very, very interested in politics, which at that time, most women were not involved in politics.
I was going to
And
say.
very few were elected. So that was kind of her thrill, was to be able to work in the process if she couldn't work for a candidate. So.
Oh, wow. She must have been influential in your life, in your political life, I must say.
In good ways and bad ways, as we all have. We inherit the sins of the mother and father. So.
Sometimes. But yeah, anyway, back to the presidents today. If you had a wish list of what presidents could do, or what you would want to see in different administrations, what would that wish list be?
I guess I would like us to return more to what the founding fathers envisioned for the three segments of government, the presidency, Congress, and the Supreme Court. I think that Congress has kind of abdicated a lot of their responsibilities and just let the sitting president at the time control things by fiat or by written order, which I don't think is what the founding fathers had in mind, and I don't think it's why our Constitution is as strong as it is. Our Constitution is as strong as it is.
Yes.
But it's something that it would restore the balance between the three portions of government. I think things are way too politicized right now, and all of the politicians, left, right, and middle, seem to forget that it's about the American people. It's not about them. Mm-hmm. So that's what I guess would be my wish.
Yeah, awesome. So, is there any final word you have to say about President's Day before I let you go?
Well, I hope you enjoy your day off.
Thank you, President of ActonTV, for giving us the day off.
But no, I think I am absolutely positive that being the president is a very difficult job, especially today, because there is so much input that a president has to deal with, so much data, so much world news that just comes to him in a fire hose. So it's a very difficult job, and I think people kind of forget that. And if you look at pictures of presidents when they start their tenure and when they end, they age much more than the 4 or 8 years.
The hair turns
the
gray.
hair, or white or
Oh,
gone.
yeah. Oh my goodness.
But
Yes.
so I think people sometimes forget that it's a difficult job, and somebody who wants to be president really has to want to be president. There's a lot of work involved in it, and in all elected offices. That's something that if you do keep your eye on the ball. Obviously, I have been an elected official in town. I was on the select board for 6 years, and not everybody thinks the same way, but everybody wants the same respect. Meaning, I don't have to necessarily agree with you, but I can respectfully disagree with you. It isn't a case where I think now we've kind of devolved into identity politics, which I think is very, very difficult for everybody.
Absolutely. And hopefully I can get you back on another day to just talk about, you know, our local government, and because you have served on the select board and you have you have been a part of many transformations of the town over the years. So it would be great to have you back with maybe other people who have worked in the town for over so many years, to just take us through the history of some of the things we enjoy the most in our town, the infrastructure, the schools, the just even local government in general, because I think we could benefit from that history. And I'm as a fan of history, I like to tap into people who were there from the start of certain processes.
Well, let me suggest to you that Dean Charter, who is on the current Board of Selectmen, his family has been in this town for 5 generations.
That's a lot of time.
And in fact, he lives on Charter Road. So you can guess the influence that his family has had. He also worked for the town for 35 years as municipal properties director and various other posts as he grew through the town. So he has a lot of tribal knowledge about what has gone on in the town. So he'd be a good one to mine.
All right. Yeah, I met him yesterday. We're touring the new fire station. And I will certainly reach out when
you
the
can
time
tell
comes.
him I threw him under the bus.
I certainly will. No, but with that, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your views and perspectives of President's Day. I think it's a great way for the community, first of all, to get to see who the president of Acton TV is, and to just look at President's Day through your perspective as well. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you're doing a fabulous job.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's with the support of you and everyone else at Acton TV. So thank you so much.
All right.
And to our viewers, thank you for watching this special edition of Acton in Focus. Till next time.